and I'm currently in the Netherlands studying international relations at Leiden University. And yeah, so we're very delighted to welcome you to a very special session between the National Committee of Canada and UWC Dilijan. And we're going to do our best to highlight special features of UWC and UWC Dilijan and to demonstrate educational opportunities for the families, placing a premium on well-rounded education of their children in a truly diverse environment and unique setting. I'll introduce the participants as we proceed, and feel free to ask any questions on the chat in Facebook, or if you're on Zoom. I'm not sure if we have the chat function activated, but I believe that could be a possibility as well. So to start off, we have Lindsay Spredo. She's the Executive Director of our National Committee, UWC National Committee in Canada. And she handles, and the committee handles all the admissions to all the 18 UWC colleges around the world. And she's currently at Pearson College out in BC on the West Coast. So yeah, hand it over to you, Lindsay.
Thanks, Junan. Good morning, everyone. I am actually zooming in, not from Pearson College on Vancouver Island this morning. I'm joining you from East Vancouver in British Columbia, which is also on the unceded traditional Coast Salish lands, including the lands of the Tsleil-Waututh, the Squamish, and the Musqueam nations. I'm very honored and pleased to be working on the West Coast and talking about reconciliation and action in education is at the core of what the UWC movement stands for in Canada. So I'm very excited to be able to highlight the land that I'm on this morning. So let's chat a little bit about UWC. The movement, as it is called amongst a lot of us, is a very unique secondary school system that works on an international scale. It's been at the forefront of providing world-class education to deliberately diverse groups of young people while trying to foster humanitarian values. The UWC movement has been in action for almost 6 decades already, and was really developed to support young people and position them to be bridge builders towards peace and sustainability around the world. The first UWC to open was Atlantic College in Wales, which was established in the wake of World War II in 1962 by a group of really visionary individuals, and they were led by a gentleman named Kurt Hahn. And UWC schools that have followed have identified a mission that we work with today, which is to make education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. It's a pretty awesome mission to be a part of. Based on the idea of this multidimensional diversity of students, accepting and respecting their differences, UWC aims to nurture through rigorous, well-rounded education, as Junan mentioned in the opening, with engaged global citizens that are inspired by ideals of the shared humanity that we all share worldwide. UWC schools adhere to a principle that everyone deserves a chance. While focusing on excellence in education, the ethos of diversity among the students and the staff is really crucial to UWC's ability to deliver its mission, especially achieving socioeconomic diversity, which requires a continuous fundraising to finance those scholarships, which is a huge part of the UWC financial model. Something that we're working very hard at with UWC Canada, and I know all of the schools do a phenomenal job of really promoting the scholarships worldwide. So a couple of unique features I'm just going to sum up for us before we dive right in. UWC is a global education movement. It's a network of 18 not-for-profit international schools across 4 continents around the world. We were founded post-World War II. And the goal, again, was to bring young people of all nationalities and backgrounds, irrespective of their socioeconomic background, to study together and to learn and respect each other and any differences that they might have. It's a robust institution that has really passed the test of time. Again, the mission and values aim to educate well-rounded individuals through their own action and personal example, and teach them that they can make a positive difference in the world. We recruit and work with students age 16 to 19 and we provide the last 2 years of their secondary school or their high school here in Canada. It's a really formative education, formative time in their education that is really focused on teaching them on how to make future choices that really will help determine their life trajectory. The students really benefit from the learning environment because it is so diverse. It really helps broaden their mind and their sense of self. So the classroom experience looks very different at a UWC than it does at any other international school or any public school here in Canada. We teach the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, also known as the IB. You might be familiar with it because we do have a lot of Canadian schools that offer that curriculum as well. It's one of the most well-regarded qualifications in the world. The IBDP is super rigorous. It prepares students for for some of the best leading universities around the world. It also places a really high value on experiential learning, community service, and outdoor activities, which really complement the high academic standards. Community action and service, which is called CAS, C-A-S, is a major part of the IB education. Students get to partake in really meaningful activities within their immediate vicinity and deal with very relevant concepts that are local and global at the same time. A huge part of UWC, again, is our comprehensive scholarship system. It enables the admission of our students independent of their socioeconomic means. We don't want students to be held back from attending a UWC if they can't afford it. That's why our scholarship programming is so important. Our student body across the UWC movement is deliberately diverse. You'll hear me emphasize deliberate whenever I say diversity. We have 10,000 students across UWC from 160 different countries, which is really amazing. And they're all from a mix of different socioeconomic groups. And they come from a wide range of cultural and religious backgrounds. Admission to all of the UWCs is through a volunteer-run national committee system across the 160 countries. That's what I'm here representing for Canada. I'm a unique example of not being a volunteer, that this is my job, but I do work with well over 100 regional volunteer groups, 100 volunteers in regional volunteer groups who support the selections, and they are often alumni and teachers and amazing champions of the UWC movement. We have across the world 60,000 alumni who are leaders in their own right, living up the UWC values wherever they are in the world. So I'm very excited to be able to talk with you about this today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, for that great description and delve into the whole story behind UWC and everything. On my part, I learned about UWC part of growing up actually on the West Coast, because I had friends who lived in Metchosin. And I remember growing up, I didn't really know what was UWC, but they'd always have these international students staying in their homes during Christmas break or during the summer or something. And I'd always have like amazing conversations with them. And then when it came to, I think I was in grade 11 or something, I thought about, oh, I wonder what those people were actually doing. So I talked to them, and I learned more about UWC, and I applied. And yeah, so I did end up in Dilijan. Basically, how it works is that you put 3 or 4 different options of colleges that you might be interested in going to on a list, and it's the national committee in the end that decides which college is more appropriate for you to go to. I think Dilijan was my second choice. I don't really remember, to be honest, because it doesn't matter. I was so happy I ended up going to Dilijan, and I think the reason I put Armenia up so high on my list was really that it was a country I knew nothing about. And part of the reason I wanted to go to UWC was to get out of Canada and get out of cultures that I had been, more familiar with, and to experience something different and new. So that's what I got actually from Dilijan. So it was perfect. And it was just an amazing experience all around. So it's great to see the National Committee of Canada and UWC Dilijan are collaborating in this way to let people know about this education. It's something that everybody should know about and have a chance to apply to, because it's open to everybody. It's universal, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things about UWC. So I'll hand it over to Gabriel Abad Fernandez, the current head of UWC Dilijan. I'll let you go ahead, Gabriel.
Thank you, Yunan, and thank you, Stephanie. It's good to see you both here. Let me introduce myself briefly. I'm Gabriel, originally from Spain. I started my career going to the United Kingdom in 1996 to become an assistant lecturer at the Modern Languages Department at the University of Northumbria, Newcastle. From then I went back to Spain to my alma mater, Malaga University in southern Spain, where I thought a career in academia was waiting for me. My degrees in philology, and I used to study diachronic linguistics and contemporary literature with a focus on Aldous Huxley, the British novelist, and post-colonial literature, including Canadian literature, whatever Canadian literature means, because actually all of the Canadian writers came from a different background, Sri Lanka, Japan, but that's a different story. In 2002, I took a bit of a career change and I moved from marking university papers in July to then teaching grade 4 to grade 12 Spanish in UWC Southeast Asia in Singapore. And that changed my life because I discovered something that I was not expecting, a complete different experience. I very quickly joined the residential community there. I met my wife there, who's a UWC alumna, and we always lived in the UWC campus ever since. My kids were born in the UWC campus and they spent most of their lives living and breathing UWC. My daughter is currently a UWC student, a DP1 student in the Atlantic College in Wales. My family is Welsh. So politically, we need to balance the Spanish and the Welsh, as you can imagine. I'm delighted to be the third head of UWC Dilijan here. It's a unique proposition. It's a school that opened in 2014, the first international residential school in this region, in the Caucasus, and beyond, actually. It's the product of a dream, of a vision by our founders, impact investors and social entrepreneurs, Ruben Vardanian and Veronica Sonaven, accompanied by a group of partners. And they chose the location of Dilijan in the ancient Silk Road because it's the crossroads of Europe, the Middle East, and Russia, sometimes referred to as the Little Switzerland of Armenia. But before I tell you more about what a unique place this is, let's watch a little video. So you saw a very unique place indeed, given the visions of our founders to create a school that would be a gateway from Armenia to the world and from the world to Armenia. If you come to Dilijan and you go to a supermarket, you may ask yourself, why are they selling Korean noodles, Spanish olives, and why are there now multiple services delivering pizza to the college? And I can tell you, when I came to the opening of the school in 2014, none of that was happening. So that's one of the ways in which indirectly we're affecting our local town, our community. Let me talk about education, because we are a school. We have a mix of a very group of inspiring community teachers who create an environment with perspectives from students from every corner in the world. The small classes and a very rigorous academic program. As Lindsay was saying, the IB diploma program is pretty much the gold standard when it comes to tertiary admission worldwide. It is delivered in English, with some subjects delivered in the target language, whether it's the ab initio languages or the literature courses in the respective languages. All of those are part and parcel of the UWC academic experience. But actually, it's the community that defines us. 300 students and staff from 80 countries with very strong bonds, an active student body, and ample opportunities to make a difference in the college, in the community, and beyond. UWC Dilijan enables everyone to grow personally and socially while enriching the lives of the college community and beyond. There's lots of stories about Yunan's artistic performances in Armenia, but I'll tell you that later. UWC Dilijan is also based in close links with a number of humanitarian, scientific, and community organizations that are part of the wider ecosystem. And we work with them for the common good locally and globally. We are part of the UWC International Movement, and our students have also the opportunity to participate in the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, in the activities of the Dilijan Community Center, and in special events like the Aurora Prize for Awakening Humanity. And they do so from a base of a campus that is quite stunning. The architectural design was consensually done to provide knowledge opportunities everywhere through technology with a continuous, relevant, and adaptive learning environment. The school spaces were designed to encourage something that's crucial for a well-rounded student: opportunities to push themselves, whether it's in the sports fields, whether it's in the academics, in the labs, in the library. All of those spaces were designed to create learning opportunities built to the highest international standards with the most advanced environmentally friendly construction at the time and renewable technologies employed throughout the construction. We've received multiple awards for the environmental sustainability assessment of the college, including the Build School 2017 Silver Award. It's not just that. Our location is unique. We're surrounded by 8 hectares of sloping and wooded countryside, located in the Dilijan National Park. The beautiful surroundings offer a unique chance to get to know Armenia and the wider Caucasus. And let me tell you something, coming from the tropics, from a place where there were no seasons, you can live the seasons here. You can see the change from summer to autumn. Now winter, you can see the snow line across the mountains. It's fantastic. And we know that having those seasons and having that rhythm of life changing is actually very important for our own day-to-day life, for our development. Armenia is a fascinating country. A host country has a rich history, a culture, and a warm spirit that makes you feel at home wherever you're coming from. It's actually quite possible that you have Armenian ancestry, because there's more Armenians, as you know, outside Armenia than in Armenia, and there's links with Armenia everywhere. Actually, in Canada, I've visited schools that are Canadian schools, and you approach a school and you see the Canadian flag, the Quebecois flag, the Armenian flag, and the Artsakh flag. And you enter the school and people are talking Armenian, and as you go up the stairs, you see little Ararat and big Ararat. It is indeed a global network nation. The Republic of Armenia is a democratic state, about 3 million inhabitants, and depending on the research, something around 7 million abroad, the Armenian diaspora. Officially the first Christian nation from the 3rd century, with majestic medieval art and architecture and several UNESCO heritage sites. It is one of the safest countries in the world, where family values prevail and friendship. You see young children playing in the streets in ways that on their own, in ways that you don't see in many other places, unfortunately. There are fantastic opportunities to make the most of the breathtaking mountainous nature, the favorite climate, and its delicious cuisine. I tell you, you have to be careful, because once you discover lavash and some of Armenian dishes, you're going to have to be going up and down the hill to burn them off. And the food is actually, most of it is organic. It's developed here. Most of our food comes from a nearby area, close to our canteen. I know that Yunan and the other speakers can talk about other special features, but let me talk about one thing in particular, the pandemic, the subject that is concerning all of us, wherever we are in the planet today. Despite the fact that we evacuated the campus in March 15, 2020, and Yunan had to finish the school remotely. Remember that, Yunan? Being on a different time zone? We managed to have not only a full enrollment, but to start the year face-to-face last school year. Even when Armenia was closed as a country, through a partnership with the Armenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, all of our students got the student passes and were allowed in the country, where only residents of Armenia and those with Armenian residency were allowed in the country. We've had face-to-face lessons through last year and this year, and again, this year we have a full campus. The safety of our students is the biggest priority, and we've done everything possible to keep everyone safe and healthy. Even when we do bubbles at the beginning of the year for quarantine, they're done in a way that students have the opportunity to go outside, do exercise, to do so in groups, because we know how tired we all are of having quarantines, bubbles, isolations. So everything we do is designed for the experience, for a learning experience, a caring experience for the students entrusted to us. So if you decide to come and join us, one thing I can tell you, you will be safe, and we will do everything we can, not only to keep you safe, but to give you the best possible learning and living opportunity. As I said earlier, the government of Armenia is very supportive of this very special community that puts Armenia on the global sphere. And they help us in many ways, including expediting visas when needed, facilitating any documentation that needs to be sorted. So if you're thinking about Armenia and you worry about that, please don't worry, we can help you with that. I can also tell you that we have a full clinic. It's quite interesting when other schools say, you've got a full clinic with a 24/7 nurses and a resident doctor. And then I said, yes, and we also have a resident psychologist who happens to be a UWC alum himself, so he understands the UWC experience. We're very privileged to have that level of support to be able to care for our students entrusted to us. The other thing that's probably in your mind is, okay, that's very good. And what about this thing about you having a war? Yes, we've had some difficult times here, but during the war last year, the whole community stayed together. Even the Turkish students who were invited to leave the country decided they wanted to stay as part of a community because they felt safe and they wanted to go through the experience with us. We pivoted, obviously we had all evacuation plans, we had contingency plans, everything in place, and we didn't need to use it. And what we did is we changed our activity. We have a greenhouse on campus, and a greenhouse started to produce food that was sent automatically to the internally displaced people, the refugees coming from Nagorno-Karabakh. We created learning opportunities with donated books and school materials. So even at that very difficult time, I'm very proud to say that this community responded in a UWC style. So I will leave you there, and I will pass you on to our Canadian colleague, my colleague, Mary Tessan. Mary, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself and teaching at UWCD? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Tessan. I am originally from Southern Alberta, actually from a farming community in Southern Alberta. I grew up on a farm. And for the first 10 years of my career, I taught in small rural schools and loved it, really loved it, but really wanted a chance to experience some of the things I was teaching about. I was always a general science teacher, but I always felt that that was the context that I taught in, that most importantly, I was teaching young people, and I wanted to share experiences with them. So when I got a chance to teach in New Zealand, I jumped at it. Loved New Zealand, taught New Zealand for about 12 years. That's where I got my first experience in IB. I trained in Australia and I taught IB in New Zealand for many years. And it was also there that I first heard about UWC. A very enthusiastic student came to me and said, you've got to teach in a UWC, you'll just love it. So yeah, always kept my eye open for that. And in fact, my nephew got into a UWC before I did. So one of my nephews went to UWC in Italy and loved it and raved about it. I then taught in Hong Kong for 5 years and had taught in an international, it was called an international school, but now having taught in UWC and in Dilijan, I feel like I really know what an international school is now. The incredible diversity that Lindsay has mentioned several times is really, really evident in the students and in the staff. Really feel privileged to be here. I've been asked to talk a little bit about my teaching methods. I am a chemistry teacher primarily, although I have also taught biology and ESS, Environmental Systems and Society. And I guess what makes the IB unique is that it's not just memorizing a body of knowledge. It is really, the emphasis in the coursework is really to understand and to question. And for me, what in the sciences, what I really feel is the dynamic nature of it, that it's not something static that you just memorize. We're always looking at how is it changing? How is it evolved? Why is it evolved? How is it linked to making these connections? I think these connections are really important. And I think that the IB syllabus and the teaching that I've witnessed from other teachers and and that I try to incorporate myself, is to make these connections and to encourage students to make these connections, to help guide them and really learn with them. And I do love that about the UWC and Dilijan in particular, all these kids coming from all these different backgrounds and sharing their enthusiasm for science and for chemistry, and oh, we do it this way, we're, you know, at my school, and then they share that with the rest of the class, and then we'll, oh, okay, well, how is that an improvement? Is that an improvement? Can we blend these ideas and come up with something better that works for us? So I find that really exciting. And one thing that wasn't mentioned is my role as an academic mentor, that I really value. Twice a week, I meet with my mentees, and again, some of the conversations that we have and the support that they give one another is really, I feel blessed to be a part of it. So I'm really a big supporter of UWC, and I'm very thankful to be here. I don't know who to go back to. Janan, is that you?
I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you so much, Mary. And next up, I think that both me and Stephanie are going to speak, but I'll first introduce Stephanie Michel, who graduated just this past year in May in 2021 from Dilijan. Steph, if you just want to let us know where you're from in Canada, how you found yourself in Dilijan, what brought you to UWC, and go from there.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Stephanie, and I'm originally from Montreal, Quebec in Canada, and I'm currently in Montreal studying neuroscience at Concordia University. So like Junan said, I graduated this past May after having spent a unique 2 years there, to say the least. So I first learned about UWC through my guidance counselor in high school. And she mentioned it, and it immediately caught my attention. And so I applied through the Canadian National Committee. And we, like Janan said earlier, we were given the opportunity to list our top 3 preferences of colleges out of the 18 colleges. And UWC Dilijan was my first choice. And given that opportunity to kind of have a say in where we wanted to go, I wanted to take full advantage of that. So I did a lot of research into all the different campuses and YouTube videos and the websites. And yeah, and I realized that UWC and attending a United World College to me was not only a great opportunity to go for study, but also to explore and travel to a part of the world that I might never have gone to in another context. And so that's how Armenia first caught my attention. And then obviously I saw, like you, the wonderful videos and the campus and the nature and the architecture, and that just furthered my interest to go there. And that's what led me to put it out as my first choice. And thankfully, I ended up going there. And so once I arrived on campus, like I think most of the students who go there, you're immersed in this whole new environment. And it can be a little bit overwhelming, all these new people, the new experiences, all the activities. And so I found it really helpful to find kind of these familiar activities that I could ground myself with. So I was a big swimmer back home, so I took full advantage of the 25-meter pool that we have on campus, and that became really important to me whenever I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed or things like that. And I also found that helped me in branching out and trying so many new things that the campus offered, and that the school offered on campus and off campus. So I went rock climbing in the Armenian mountains, was part of the ceramics club. So all of those CAS experiences really helped me and also guided me to what I'm studying now. So I started a CAS where I was teaching gymnastics to the primary school kids. So on campus, the kids the teachers' kids. I'll go to this little primary school that we have on campus, and I started teaching gymnastics there. And I really enjoyed the whole aspect of seeing how they develop, also like psychologically how they grow, and that really interested me. And at the same time, I had a big interest in biology. I was taking higher level biology, and I really liked that. So I thought that neuroscience was a really cool way to kind of combine those, and that's what led me to choose neuroscience here in Montreal. Also, just another part that I want to talk about, how kind of Canada was part of my journey in Armenia. So obviously in Armenia and in any UWC, a big part of the journey is connecting with others and learning about their cultures and their stories. But as a part of that, there's also obviously sharing your own culture and our Canadian culture. And we do that through regional evenings and discussions about Canadian issues. And through organizing all these events, I got to connect a lot with my Canadian co-years. So whether that be my second years like Junan or my first years. And so while I was in Armenia, I also learned so much about Canada. So that was also a really amazing experience. So yeah, that was also, so that's just how the UWCD campus kind of helps us connect with each other and discover Armenia and Canada.
Totally. Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said. It's really an experience that brings everything together in so many ways. And it really does, I think, help you understand where you come from in many different ways as well. So what I'll talk about a little bit here is the academic part of the curriculum at UWC. As well as the CAS, the Community Activity Service requirements, which are part of the IB. So as most of you probably know, UWCs worldwide follow the International Baccalaureate, which is, apart from being, as Gabrielle said, the gold standard kind of for high school education worldwide, it offers you opportunities, endless opportunities, basically. It also does have a reputation for being difficult. And there were moments where I did feel overwhelmed, and there was just a lot going on, and I think that you have to be able to see, first of all, time management is key, very, very important. And when you're doing the IB, when you're doing anything, but specifically the IB, you need to be able to put priorities in certain areas and know what's important for you and what's important for your future as well. One thing I would say is that even though it was difficult, even though there were times where I felt that it was just a lot to take on, when I came to university, the advantages the IB gave me were so huge, and I could just notice this compared to other students. Like my essay writing, for example, my test taking skills were all much more developed, and it gave me in my opinion anyways, it gave me a huge advantage and skills that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So it's kind of this kind of thing, like, yeah, it's difficult, but you got to push through it, and you've got to also not take it too lightly when you're choosing your courses. Make sure you're taking courses that interest you, make sure you're doing things that you're passionate about, and if you are doing that, it's going to work out fine for you. I think that's the biggest takeaway. One of the most interesting parts of the IB is that there's a requirement called CAS, and that's Community Activity Service. So you have to basically do 3 activities, one based in the community, I think it's creativity, or is it community? Anyways, there's a community activity service, and if you do one from each of these things, basically you have an opportunity to find something that you're very passionate about and bring it to the school, bring it to the greater community, bring it to other students, and share your passion with the people around you. So I can speak a little bit of, like, as Stephanie said, she had her CASs. I also had a lot of artistic CASs. I taught violin in the community. One of the ones, I've mentioned this before, I think, but one of the ones that I just felt the most passionate about and was truly an amazing experience was the Caucasus Connect group, which I really hope is still going in some shape or form. But it was an initiative that we took on to bring together youth from the different countries of the Caucasus through the arts. So this was like, kids from Armenia, Georgia, Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and southern Russia. And these are countries which traditionally have had political problems with each other, and seeing these kids come together through the arts was just a truly beautiful thing. So whenever I think about my CAS experiences, this one comes to mind. It was just such a I think a truly life-changing experience when we got all these kids together. So that's just an example of something that you can come up with as a CAS activity. There's also sports. You can also, we had an arts festival in Dilijan in my first year. Unfortunately, in the second year, it didn't happen due to Corona. But again, it's just about bringing your passion to the greater Armenian community and to the greater international community. And I think that was one of the most beautiful things about UWC in general, at least from my perspective. So yeah, and then another thing is, if you're thinking about university and your later opportunities and your later plans, UWC offers, especially in Dilijan, we have a great counseling department, and they not only offer you great advice and counseling for university, but also there's a lot of scholarships, and that's, I think, a very special thing for UWC students, because we have people who come from all kinds of backgrounds, and if they hadn't come to UWC, you don't always have the opportunity to be able to go to universities basically all over the world. The most important of these scholarships is the Davis Scholars, and this is a program which is based in the US, and it connects UWC specifically graduates to I think over 100 universities in the US, with most of the time enormous financial aid, if not full financial aid. I even know people who have like extra money when they go to university. So it's really special. And that's, the Davis Scholars are something that's only open to UWC students. So that's another advantage. Now, that being said, you don't go to UWC just for the academics. You have to be passionate about whole range of issues, and honestly, in the end, I saw some comments in the chat, but what's going to make you the best UWC student is just be yourself, and you're going to hear that a lot, but it's the truth. Just be yourself, be passionate about what you love, and that's how you're going to be able to thrive in an environment like UWC Dilijan. So yeah, and then for me, I bonded with Armenia in such a way that for now it's I don't know how many homes I would say I have around the world, but definitely Armenia is one of them, and it holds such a special place in my heart. And that's why I actually came back this past summer in May and June and a bit of July, to go back, see the country after leaving so suddenly, back in 2020, but also just to reconnect with UWC Dilijan. And I volunteered in the summer camp. So every year, I'm pretty sure it's every year, there's a summer camp that happens. It's called Just Dilijan, and it brings younger kids to UWC. I think this year it was mainly just from Russia, but usually without Corona, there's other countries that participate as well. And the idea is to give these kids, I think they were up to the age of 14, and a short experience, a short idea of what UWC feels like and what UWC looks like. So we ran kind of like mini cultural evenings, very similar to what we have at UWC. We went for cultural experiences outside in Dilijan, in the villages, and this is just another experience of another example of how you can contribute to the UWC movement after you graduate. So it's incredible the amount of opportunities that exist. So yeah, I'll hand it over. I think that if there's any questions, this would be a good time for questions right now, or if Stephanie, I don't know if you wanted to jump in and say anything, but do we have any questions? No. I don't know if there's a Facebook chat or something that I'm not seeing. Oh, okay. how did I come to choose Leiden and where are you at university? Good question. I didn't properly say that. So I'm currently at Leiden University, which is a university based in the town, a small town, a town of Leiden in the Netherlands, although I'm actually living in The Hague. And the program I'm following is international relations. I came here after I graduated, with the world being the way it was, I wasn't sure what future plans were going to look like. And I spent a year in Canada. I actually took some classes at the University of British Columbia, UBC, and very much enjoyed it. I did like it a lot. But being the person that I am, I felt like I needed to get away again from home and do something new and do something different. So I looked into options and this came up, and I'm very, very, very much happy here. So if anyone listening is interested in international relations, political science, anything in that field, I think Leiden University is very, very well known for that. And I've only had great experiences here. It's just a couple of weeks ago, we had a very interesting event with Justin Trudeau. I saw him in Armenia as well. Sometimes I think he's following me, but anyways, he came to the university and we had a very interesting talk about the future of climate policy internationally, and with the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Mark Rutte, as well. So it's a university that really puts effort into connecting with the actual political world out there. So that was very fun. I think there's a question for Stephanie, first of all. How do you find a change from IB? Yeah, how do you find the change from IB to university?
That's a good question. I mean, I think IB prepares us very well for university, but university is still very different from how we learn in IB. So I think the biggest change that I would say for me was just kind of the lecture format or how we're taught. So in UWC Dilijan, our classes are very small, and you have a very close relationship with your teachers. Whereas then you go to university and you're in these big lecture halls, and the professor is giving a lecture. So it's just a very different environment, and I think it's just about adapting to that. And again, I think the IB prepares you a lot for adapting to different environments, particularly if you've gone to a UWC. I think you've already adjusted and experienced so many things and adapted to a new environment, a new school, that also prepares you for and gives you the skills that you need for university and to help you kind of deal with all the new challenges that university brings about. So I think that's what I would say was the biggest change in how IB helped me kind of deal with that.
No, yeah, I would totally agree. And I think that one thing also to say is that even though the format of classes are completely different between UWC, which truly are tiny classes, I think my biology class had like 8 people in it. So really small classes. My lectures here have like 300 people in them. So it's a huge change. But I also think that the intensity of IB really forces you to learn how to properly take notes, for example, how to properly pay attention. And if you apply those same skills into a bigger setting, you're going to use them in the same way, if not better. So at least in my experience, I think that it definitely contributed to me, being myself at university and excelling in the way that I can. So I think we have one more question for Mary.
I was going to add before you pivot to the next question. My background has been in university admissions in Canada before I joined the UWC movement 5 years ago. And the IB is received as a university level curriculum. You do get first year credit for a lot of those courses. So you also get to jump or sort of skip those introductory courses at a lot of universities, which I think are probably fairly repetitious for you if you have done the IB. And so students get to jump into a more specialized areas, which I think really reflects their abilities. And universities across Canada and really around the world highlight how UWC students don't need the year to land and adjust. they really jump right into campus life, and they give so much to the university experience and life to their peers that they're really sought out. And that's really because of the IB, but also because of the community that they've sort of grown up in the last 2 years. So I just wanted to add that.
For sure. Yeah. So Mary, I think we have a question. You mentioned mentorship, so as part of what you do at UWC. And so the question is, how do students get extra help if they need it? And maybe like how do they get that extra help?
Okay, now as the academic mentor, that's overseeing their academic program. If it's subject-specific tutorials, students themselves will often run that as a CAS. I run what I call foundation chemistry, because there's so much, there's such a difference in the background of the students coming in that some of them have never actually done any practical work before. So I run a weekly session where they come in and we just do practical work and they learn basic skills and just build some confidence. I know the math department runs several tutorials a week. So mostly that kind of tutorial, that kind of thing is run by each individual department. And then again, by student-led as well.
Yeah, perfect. I remember really enjoying my mentor time every week, because basically what you have is a specific teacher, like Mary, for example, who you meet with every week and you discuss anything that you need support with. Actually, this might be an interesting time just to say, like, basically in UWCD, your academic life is in general quite separated from your residential life. So you have like a mentor for academics, which like I just said, you meet every week in the academic building. You discuss anything that you might have concerns with, or if a teacher has concerns with what you're doing, then that can be brought up as well. And then you also have support at the residential level. So we have house parents, or tun parents, which is the Armenian word for home, in the residences. And these people are like, your parental figure for the 2 years, and any concerns that you have that's not related to academics, you can go to them and they're there to listen to you and support you. So we have that support on both levels, not just academic, just to make that clear. Okay, we have a question for Gabrielle. Is applying via the national committee the only route to enter a specific school?
Good question. And I just came out of a meeting about the global selection program, where as head I was welcoming families interested in applying. The national committee system works in many cases, but in some cases, students who only want to apply to a particular school, or who don't meet the criteria because they don't reside in the country or they live in a different country, they can apply to something called the global selection program. So if you go to the uwc.org/GSP, you can apply through that program that allows you. It's a selection like the national committee system. It's centrally done with collaboration from schools, colleges, and national committees. And through that, you can specify, I want to go to one school, or I can specify, I think it's up to 5, if I remember correctly. So if that's your situation, I do encourage you to check that out. It's open, it's ongoing, so there's no deadline. They have an ongoing application.
I think it's great. I could give a shout out as well if you are looking for the Canadian National Committee application timeline. Our deadline for financial aid falls on December 1st. So if you are thinking about applying, you can still apply beyond December 1st, but if you are seeking that financial aid aspect, the deadline is soon. We've got about 3 days.
Cool. I think we have one more question, which is, it's a bit of a general question, but maybe we could all just kind of say what we think. So it's a question from Nissan, and they're asking if we could give some advice with the application. So maybe, I don't know, we can all just say a sentence or something about what we think for advice for the application. Stephanie, do you want to start?
So I think the best advice I could give is, like, don't try too hard to fit into the frame of what you think UWC wants. So maybe like you've read the mission and you think that the people doing the selection are looking for something really specific, but like we're not. I'm actually working with the UWC Quebec selection team this year, so I can say that we're just trying to find people who are going to enjoy their experience there and thrive wherever, like whichever campus they're put in, and who are going to be able to deal with the academics while still having a great experience with friends and in their country. So that's what I would say.
Mary, do you want to contribute?
I don't know that I could add anything to that. That was a
Yeah.
really good answer, Stephanie.
The one thing that I will just say is don't compare yourself to the other applicants. I noticed that in your message. Be you and be true to who you are, and don't consider it as much of a competition. We are seeking diversity. We are not looking for the same type of students. So very much what Stephanie said really reinforces the fact that you need to be yourself, and it's okay if you don't have the same strengths that you're seeing in others, because you might have amazing strengths elsewhere. And that's really what we're looking for. We're not looking for students to be the same. So don't compare yourself. Just be true to you.
If I can add one thing, don't think that you need to be Mother Teresa or Mandela or Gandhi, because sometimes people think if I'm not like them, I don't even have a chance. No, actually, Mother Teresa, Mandela, Gandhi, they were all teenagers and they will have formative years and they needed a future adult to be shaped. If you have the willingness to do something different, if you want to try to be the best you can by challenging your identity, by challenging your even some of the narratives that may have shaped you, the person you are today, then by all means do apply.
Totally. Yeah, I don't think I have too much to add either, honestly. Stephanie completely summarized it great, and everybody else as well. But yeah, really just, I said it before, and you're gonna, like I said, everyone always says this, but be yourself, and really just like the national committees and the global selection process, everyone who interviews you just they want to get to know you. They want to know who you are and how you, how you would fit into UWC. And they're going to be able to see that through your application. If you show who you really are, if you try to pretend to be someone else, that's going to come out in some shape or form. So just be yourself, and they'll find the best fit for your needs. So yeah. Now unless we have any other questions, am I missing questions from anybody? No? Then I think we're gonna finish up. I'm gonna just thank everybody for being here today. It was really great to see everyone, and I hope that everyone who joined enjoyed this. And we're gonna close the event with one more video from UWC Dilijan. So I'll let Sonia play that, I think. So thanks, everybody.